Speaking of somewhat disappointing Marvel productions,
Yeah.
X-Men 97 did a bad.
Yes. Yeah. So episode 4 dropped yesterday, and it was kind of like one of those weird, like two half episodes in one, and it was really it didn't feel like something you would see in the first season of a show. It felt like like season 5 when they're like running out of ideas.
Yeah, so a weird thing I noticed watching through some animated TV shows a few years back, Earthworm Jim and Futurama were big examples. If a TV show did a parody of The Wizard of Oz, it was probably doomed.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the idea you pull out of the in case you don't have an episode this week, break glass box in the wall. Um, Getting Jubilee caught in a video game with Roberto was it's somewhere up there on that list.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the basic plot was that it's Jubilee's 18th birthday, and she walks in while everybody's having, you know, cake, or cupcakes and coffee, and she wants to spend her birthday at the arcade. But then Magneto, being Magneto, like, oh, why are you wasting your time on video games?
Yeah, you need to be an adult.
Yes. And she gets mad about it, and so she goes to her room and with Roberto there, and of course, you pointed something out something pointed out something really interesting with Roberto and video games.
Yeah, it did strike me as kind of funny and opposite world where you'd have an 18-year-old girl being really, really, really into video games, and the guy thinking that video games were stupid. It seemed,
Yeah.
especially in 1997.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's something that rarely, if ever, happened. Maybe once in a blue moon.
For that matter, since it's pretty obvious that Roberto is crushing on Jubilee, you'd think he would at least fake it.
Yeah. Also
um,
very true. Yeah.
and yeah, so there's a mysterious Motendo console there that I thought looked kind of like a weird hybrid of a Super Nintendo and a Sega Dreamcast, or not Dreamcast,
Genesis.
Genesis. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was thinking 97 and thinking the CD era of consoles,
Yeah. Yeah.
but and so they get sucked into Mojoverse, and
Hmm.
um, so for those who don't know, Mojo is an extra-dimensional X-Men villain who is a concept that I have read a few storylines that I liked, but I think has always been like one of their C or D level concepts to whip out.
Yeah, it's very goofy and kind of like, it's like really, just like we were saying, it's they go to him when they're out of ideas.
Yeah, as I recall, his appearance in the original X-Men 90s cartoon also came pretty late in their life.
Yeah, I want to say it was like season 4 or season 5. Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea with Mojo is that he is a sleazy TV producer. He has a he uses his entertainment and gladiator games to keep a dimension full of slaves called the Mojoverse stale and happy, or happy and fat and distracted.
Right.
Uh, and he has decided over the years, on many occasions, that the X-Men are very marketable, and so he'll kidnap them and try to force them into gladiator games.
Yes, and now he's got Jubilee and Roberto in basically the X-Men arcade game.
Yes, because TV is a dying industry. We need to diversify. Video games are the future.
Yeah.
Which the way he described it, since okay, so Mojo is supposed to be an out-of-touch TV executive, but it felt like this show was like weirdly hostile to video games as a medium.
Yeah, it was.
And yeah, so you get some levels like the screenshot here that are reminiscent of the X-Men arcade game from the 90s, down to a bunch of visual references. Although when they ran into the video game version of Magneto, he did not say, "Welcome to die," or "I am master of magnet."
Yeah. little too on the nose, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. But still, if you're gonna do this, say the line.
Yeah.
Um, and the overall moral of this episode was very much, well, spoiler. If you're gonna, it's watchable, I guess. But
Yeah.
so don't let us ruin the outcome for you if you are dead set on watching this. Uh, while they're in there, a mysterious masked figure has been helping them out periodically, and it
Yeah.
turns out to be a future version of Jubilee, who like a version of her. I guess Roberto died at some point because he isn't. There isn't a future Roberto there. And like she got stuck in the games and is there to help them.
Yeah, I didn't get that. That was really odd.
Um, and and then she gives Jubilee a speech that is weird because it feels like it's the moral to an episode we didn't watch.
Yeah. Yeah, and although I will say one cool part of it was she demonstrated a use of her powers that Jubilee hadn't figured out how to do yet, which
Yeah, one thing I'll definitely give this show credit for is they're definitely thinking of creative applications of the characters' powers.
yeah,
Cyclops got that love in episode 1, and Jubilee seems to be getting it in episode 4.
yeah,
But like the speech that the older Jubilee gives her is like, you know, you can't be afraid of growing up, and video games are nice and predictable, but real people are better. And it's like, again, like you, you didn't set that up. Jubilee was having her one and only 18th birthday, and she was asked what she wanted to do to celebrate, and she picked the arcade, and Magneto shut her down
yeah,
without a particular reason.
yeah, yeah, and as you pointed out before the show, like, well, why would Magneto want to go to Jubilee's 18th birthday party anyway?
Yes. Oh, but if they had decided to go to I'm trying to think of something that Magneto would actually be entertained by. If they decided to go to the opera, would he have been all gung ho for it? Let me get my opera glasses.
Yeah,
Um, now, okay, so since we talked about this a little bit before the show, have I said my example of how to kind of fix this episode in one line yet, or am I?
no, 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 you didn't. You haven't
Okay.
said that yet.
Okay, so the thing is, I guess we should get back to their summary. So so she and Roberto get out, and they proceed to make out on her bed.
Hmm.
Okay, fine. They kiss on her bed, but the camera pans away, so you have the feeling.
Hmm.
Which they've been hanging out with each other the last few episodes, so it didn't come totally out of the blue.
Yeah,
But this felt like a wasted opportunity because you could have, like, Roberto still is afraid of using his powers because he's afraid that he'll get spotted and his parents will find out somehow.
yeah, yeah, Roberto's a rich kid, and he don't want to lose his inheritance.
Yeah, because his parents don't like mutants.
Yeah,
So what it seems to me is that this could have been a full episode where you dealt with Roberto's problems and you actually set up a plotline where Jubilee was afraid of growing up and having responsibilities.
hmm, yeah,
Um, but instead, we kind of just got this rush thing. It seemed to me that you could fix a lot of things by modifying. So instead of having Magneto once again cucking Gambit by knowing how Rogue likes her coffee better than Gambit does, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
yeah,
Uh, you could have used that time and had Jubilee walk into the room looking exhausted, have Rogue say something kind of southern like, uh, "Gee, sugar, you're looking like a dog that lost, a bone that lost an argument with a dog. What's the matter? Oh, sorry, I was up too late playing Final Fantasy, or you just make up like that. I
yeah,
just can't put that down." And then when she says she wants to go to the arcade, Magneto can say, "You can barely stand as it is, and you want to play more of these video games? No, I forbid it."
yeah,
And then when she and Roberto are alone, instead of her just generically complaining about him being no fun, You have a reason for Roberto to be somewhat, you know, hey, you've been playing a lot those video games an awful lot lately. Maybe you should tone it down a bit.
Right. Yeah.
And that wouldn't have taken a whole lot more time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But speaking of rushed episodes, we have the second
Yeah.
half of this one.
Yes. The second half is basically picks up where the previous episode left off, where Storm was in Dallas after losing her powers, and she meets Forge in a bar,
Hmm.
and Forge offers to help her get her powers back, and does just that, and or tries to help her out, but it doesn't work. And they have this whole thing where like they're horseback riding and doing different stuff, and that's basically it. And then
Oh,
uh,
they find out that, oh, Forge was the one who designed the mutant suppression thing for the CIA.
which I think you called it.
Well, to be fair, I'd read the comic book back in the day, so
Oh, okay, okay.
I knew that he was responsible for it.
Oh, okay.
But and then he declared that he loved her when they had been on screen together for like 5 minutes
uh,
combined.
yeah. And then she tries to leave, and then oh God, what was that
The
guy's name?
adversary,
The adversary. Yeah, the adversary shows up,
a
and yeah,
big owl demon with vaguely Native American theming, I think,
yeah,
since Forge is Native American.
yes, yeah. So that's where the episode ends, and
A very unsatisfying 10 minutes because that was basically a storyline. Okay, so episode two, there's like legitimate, must be episode three. Episode three, there's legitimate criticisms that they kind of pressed fast forward on the Madeline Pryor storyline
yeah,
by and resolving it in one episode. A couple of things could have used a little more room to breathe, but
hmm
I think we overall came away with a positive impression of it because it also didn't take too long.
right,
This is like when you're scrolling past a YouTube video and you accidentally hit control while you're scrolling your mouse, and it suddenly you've turned the video to 3 times speed for
yeah,
everything. Both of these ideas needed more room to breathe. Now, this was just part one of the Forge Storm story, but I'm finding
mhm,
myself having a hard time caring because it's just too rushed.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. You don't get a whole lot, like you're saying. We were saying like they're on screen like 5 minutes together, and then you got Forge declaring his love for Storm, and it was like no, like you haven't earned that.
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah.
If they didn't want to give them that much screen time, they should have just made this a B plot that they carried out over several episodes in the background. Because then, like with more time in between moments,
Yeah.
you can like the viewer could naturally assume that this is taking place more slowly.
Yeah, like and you were talking before the show in the first cartoon where they would do that in in like these arcs where
Hmm.
like when Professor X and Magneto were in the Savage Lands together. That lasted like 4 or 5 episodes, I think.
Yeah, they were just trying to escape from there and or they were trying to survive there, I should say. And well, people were worried about them, but that wasn't the A plot.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is kind of a misstep. It was honestly the level of quality I was kind of worried that we were going to get from the start. I
yeah,
really hope this was just a little misstep and not the norm.
yeah. Me too. Yeah. Well, hopefully it will improve by episode 5.
Yeah, I mean, every show is going to have some clunker episodes, but
Yeah,
this feels like such a step down, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah,
We'll see where we continue with it.
yeah.
Um,